Respect it, I mean, we network across the globe, cause it's a global market in case you didn't know. And since we all about information flow, let me be the first one to welcome you to Tech Zone with Paul Amadeus Lane. Let's talk tech, cause technology changing the game. It's all good in the hood, it's everywhere. Now let's get to the show, cause we live on air, yeah.
This show has definitely flown by. Time flies when you're having fun, right? And I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you've had some fun. And gosh, that one on piracy, our last segment, that was pretty eye-opening, wasn't it? I am Paul Amadeus Lane, and don't forget, if you're just tuning in, we've been talking about it all show long. You want to make sure you follow me on Facebook and YouTube. On March the 2nd, which is Thursday, we will be doing a special Facebook Live reveal of the Tech Zone, the future, and some great new features. I'm talking too much. I know it's supposed to be a surprise, but just make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. The best way to connect with me and to follow me is go to my website, paulonwheels.com. Go there, follow me, and got some pretty exciting things that we hope that you will enjoy. We talked about this in the beginning of the show too, about the Consumer Technology Association. And if you've noticed, all month long in February, I made a concerted effort to talk about the diversity in technology, the underrepresented community who are in technology. You may ask, why would I do something like that? I want to introduce you to ones out there in technology that are just changing the world and changing the game. In the world in which we live in, we look at celebrities as ones who are movie stars, ones who are athletes. And it's true, they give us a measure of enjoyment in our life. Who doesn't like to see a cool movie, a sci-fi movie? Yeah. Or watch somebody, catch a 50-yard touchdown, take it to the house, or a slam dunk, alley-oop. We like to see those things. But what about shifting our focus to include ones in the tech industry, ones who we can pattern ourselves after? Say, you know what? I want to be that when I grow up. I want to be an innovator. I want to have my own company. And some may think, well, you got to get a small business loan and all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. The games have changed. You don't even have to go to a 4-year university now to get these technical skills and start earning a lot quicker. So what does this mean? See, that's my mission here on the Tech Zone. To not only bring out some information about the tech world and what's going on, but to introduce you to the great minds in tech. Get to know them. Get to know the face behind the company. And it's been my pleasure, to do that. One organization out there that I always highlight, and if you're watching, is this organization right here. The Consumer Technology Association. If you go to their website, it's cta.tech. On their homepage, it says, "We stand for innovators and the promise of technology." And this is so true. This is why I have so many reps from that company on the show. And today, we're going to continue down that road. And I'm so honored to have with me right now a gentleman that I've known for a few years, one of the bright minds when it comes to technology. From the Consumer Technology Association, Jeff Joseph. Jeff is the Senior VP of Communications and Strategic Relationships. Jeff, how are you, my friend?
Always good to see you, man. How you doing?
My friend, I am honored to have you on. I'm doing great and fantastic. And Jeff, you and I were talking about this off camera. We're all recuperating from Vegas from CES. It was amazing. It was a blast. And what's kind of been, I guess, the major things that came out of there for your department after CES ended this year?
It's a phenomenal show. It was our biggest and best ever. I feel like I said it every year, but it just keeps getting better and better. And the reason it gets better and better is because consumer technology keeps getting bigger and better, right? When we were young, maybe you had your boombox. Maybe if you were lucky enough to have one of those big old mobile phones you could sort of carry around that were like the size of a briefcase. Now technology is everywhere. It's self-driving cars, it's robotics, it's drones. It's in everything we do. It's the Internet of Things, all throughout our homes and our lives. So just in that way, the show has changed too. There's so much there that just blew me away. I'm a car buff. I love the self-driving cars. I can't wait. I'm getting older, right? So I can't wait till my skills decline a little bit and I can sit back in my car and have it ferry me around back and forth. Or, I've got teenage kids and I won't have to worry about their driving as much, right? Because they'll be in a safe environment. So I thought that was fantastic. But just seeing the energy, excitement, and the way that consumer technology is really improving and changing our lives, connecting us to each other. It's a phenomenal, and it's exciting to be a part of that, big part of that.
That's true. And Jeff, you took me back talking about the boombox, and then we thought we were something, man. When we got the Walkman, remember that? We had the boombox.
Oh yeah.
And then if you had a Walkman, man, you were like the stuff when it came to the block, man.
Oh, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Right. You carry around more songs than that. You have access to more music than that just through your phone, right? And it's unbelievable. I think sometimes we forget about that. We take it for granted. There's this great comedy piece by I forget the comedian's name, where he talks about flying, right? And we just take it for granted. But think about it, man. You sit in this machine and you're flying through the air. We complain about not enough food or the flight's late, but we're flying in the same way. Think about it. I've got this device, right? And I can watch movies. I can watch my TV. I can connect with my kids on this and see them. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? And sometimes I think we take it for granted, the way that technology has changed and improved our lives every day.
And, I was talking to, on my last week's show, I had Aisha Bowe. She is the CEO of STEMboard. And we were just talking about how, in society where we live, we judge superstars by how far they can hit a ball, by how fast they can run, score touchdowns. But the real superstars, in my opinion, is the ones who make our lives a little easier when it comes to technology, man. I mean, think about it. We don't have to walk around with the Miami Vice brick phone no more. We can have a small phone, have all this great technology in it, and it's a great time to be living in the age of technology with the Internet of Things.
That's exactly right. Again, think about the way that drones can help protect our lives instead of sending young men and women out to fight forest fires or to examine the landscape in a very dangerous environment or to explore a pipeline in a dangerous environment. You can now send drones to do that. That's an amazing advancement. There's a friend of mine who's down in LA who's using 3D printing technology to create prosthetic arms for people who've lost limbs.
Wow.
To some of the tragedies in civil war in sub-Saharan Africa. So, it's great to think about these devices as, now I can watch Westworld as I'm traveling or keep track of my beloved Dallas Cowboys. But it's about so much more than that. And I think, what it's also done is we talk a lot, and you hear in this current political environment about how technology can divide us, right? You can find fake news, you can find your own community.
Right.
But I'd rather focus on how it brings us together, how we're able to find communities, and how we're able to sort of overcome some prejudices and learn about each other because we're able to connect and sort of eliminate the barriers of time and space and geography. And that's an amazing thing, too.
And that is so true. And I'm glad you spoke to that. When we, one obvious thing about us, for those who are watching us, Jeff and I are both African Americans. And when I first started covering tech at CES about a little over 7 years ago, it wasn't that many who looked like me, who was reporting and who was anchoring any coverage there. And Jeff, we're seeing today that many minorities, many women are really getting involved in tech. And what has been your observation and noticing different trends out there, especially ones coming up in the tech world?
In terms of increasing diversity and opportunities for minorities?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right. It's as in many walks of life, it's really improved. And I'm going to come back to that because there's still more work to be done. But I do think we should take a minute and recognize how far we've come. If you walk the show floor of CES, if you attend tech conferences, again, there's still work to be done. But you notice an increase in the number of minorities who are becoming engaged, who are starting companies, who are building companies. We have a phenomenal company right here outside of where I am, right outside of Washington, D.C., called Phone to Action that's run by a Chilean woman who's doing amazing things using technology to sort of increase access to civic engagement. Just by using a text application, you can engage with lawmakers and make your opinion known. And she's built this phenomenal company. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it would be rare to see a woman, particularly an immigrant woman, who building a company and really establishing a leadership position. Now that's not that uncommon. We see minorities, we see women. There's a woman out in the Bay Area, Mara Lewis, who's very involved and very engaged in the startup community and mentoring companies. We have senior executives of African Americans, of Latinos and Latinas, of Hispanics, of Asian Americans. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done, and we need to increase our STEM education. We need to focus on that 4-year colleges aren't the only path to success. We can focus more on community colleges and vocational training. That becoming a programmer is a great way to enter technology business, an important and high wage job. And I think, again, in this environment where there's a lot of concerns about economic development, increasing access to jobs, tech can really help be a leader, but we've got to start in our communities. We've got to start with some basic fundamental education. I think we really need to change the mindset.
And you know what, Jeff, it seems like that all of us in the tech field, it's like to get a quote from the movie Drumline, where one beat, one band, because everyone in the tech industry now, we're talking about the 4-year universities and going to the technical schools, increasing STEM education. And if you look at where we're at in the United States, we're kind of behind the curve, especially when it comes to K through 12. A lot of the STEM education, especially here in California, in order for kids to take part of it, the parents have to spend a whole lot of money for them to do some after school programs when it comes to STEM. And like I brought about last week when I had Aisha Ball on from STEM Board, is what her company does. They go out and they do it free of charge. They do it here in the United States. They do it in the Bahamas. They do it everywhere. And Jeff, what could we do in the tech industry to really beat the drum when it comes to STEM education to make sure our kids in K through 12 are learning these skills now, so when they get out of high school, they go to a technical school and they're able to really be productive, not only in the United States, but also around the world?
I'll quote another movie, man. You got to bring the noise.
Absolutely. That's what we got to do.
You got to talk about it. You got to educate kids. You have to make them understand. In some ways, it's the same old story, right? Education breeds success. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody needs to go to a 4-year college. Everybody doesn't need to go to an Ivy League school, but it needs to start with education. And we who have positions of influence, who can use our platform to talk to our children, to talk to our kids, and tell them that education is a pathway to good jobs and to a career and to success. And that STEM is not boring. STEM is amazing things. If you like gaming, if you like video gaming, that's a STEM education to get you involved in that industry. If you like computers, if you like smartphones, if you like anything related to technology, here's a pathway to get you involved in that career where you can shape your future and help shape this technology. Now, I will say there are a number of independent organizations who are doing great work. There's Girls Who Code, there's Black Girls Who Code, who are teaching kids those fundamental skills, at that community level that they need to be successful. But I think it really starts with those of us who have a platform to go out and push and educate and make people aware of those opportunities and the importance of those opportunities.
Well said. And that's one of the reasons why when I decided to shift my focus in journalism to strictly tech, it was because I wanted to raise awareness to kids out there. Tech is cool. I mean, you look at Jeff. Jeff has one of the coolest jobs. Jeff travels to all across around the world. He goes to Asia. He goes everywhere. And you have a cool job. And that's what I want kids and parents to see, that, hey, you know what? Not everybody can become an athlete. Not everybody can become a Hall of Famer. But when it comes to technology, sky's the limit. I mean, look at how many startups, when it comes to the African-American community, the women community, there's a lot of startups right there. And some of these startups are very successful and nobody even knows about them. That's the crazy thing, or even their founders and their journeys.
And the great thing is that for a startup to get engaged, you really don't, the cost of entry is low. The barrier of entry is relatively low, right? You have an internet connection, you have an idea.
Absolutely.
If it's a hardware product, you can do prototypes by 3D printing. You can find coders all around the world using the internet. If you have a good idea you can find a way to make it happen. You can do crowdsourcing. You don't have to like run down to your local bank and beg for funding, or go to mom and dad and beg for money, or go to Wall Street. You can now crowdfund it, right? If you have a good idea, there are ways to make it happen. There are ways to make your dreams come true. And that's one of the differences with this generation. When we were young, when I was young, that wasn't all true. Now those barriers to entry are so much lower, so much easier to get a good idea out there, start a company, and find your dreams.
Absolutely. And like you referenced, like we were growing up. I mean, you think of it, when it came to, starting to get an idea together, you'd have to go to the Small Business Association, have a business plan. And by the time you got everything together, you're so frustrated and just everything that goes into it, a lot of great ideas just fell by the wayside. But right
Absolutely.
now with the crowdfunding, with all these things, if you have a good idea, I mean, sky is the limit. You look at like some of these companies now who started off as startups who are now like major players. Like at CES, I had a chance to talk with the guys from Illumi, and they were on Shark Tank, and Mark Cuban, funded them. But they started off as a startup, and now to have Mark Cuban back them up and being a major player when it comes to smart lighting technology, I mean, it's just so many things out there that our children can do, and just the ones leading the way. It's amazing out there.
It's an unbelievable time, and that's one of my favorite parts of CS is seeing people, primarily young, but not exclusively young people, who just have an idea and they have a passion, and they can come to CS and they can make it happen. We have an area, as you know, called Eureka Park, which is focused on startups, and it's grown unbelievably over the last 3, 4, 5 years. This year we had over 600 startups there with all different kinds of ideas, where they come and they can showcase their concepts. They can receive funding, as in the case with Mark Cuban and Illumina, and find a marketplace, find a global marketplace to push out their idea. But it's one of the most fun part of my jobs is getting to work with startups and see these people who just come with an idea. They see an opportunity, they see a need, they can find the funding, they can find coders, they're passionate about it, and they create companies.
And Jeff, when it comes to like the African American community and influential ones that are in the tech field, we talked about some out there who are helping out, and definitely in STEM and everything. Are there any ones out there that we should discuss and talk about, so the world can know like just a diverse face when it comes to technology?
Yeah, there's so many, but I'll talk about one that I met recently that I think is a really cool story. And you have to forgive me because I'm going to get the name wrong, and I'll get it to you.
Oh, I do it all the time, Jeff. I butcher people's names, so it's fine.
It's I believe it's Shears, Shehears. And again, I'll get you the right name, but it's an African American couple out of Dallas, I believe. And they had this kind of they're award-winning the husband's award-winning hairdresser, and he saw a need. He saw this excess capacity in beauty salons where they'd have empty chairs, and you'd have people come to town, celebrities in some cases, other times just this excess capacity where they need that space. So they sort of crowdsource. They put out, I've got this space, I've got this skill. If you're an entertainer, celebrity coming to town and you need help, I'm available to do that. Or I've got space in my shop. If you have skills and you need a space to work out of. So they're identifying a need, right? They've got excess capacity, or you come to town and you need someone who can do this. You've got skilled people, and using technology, they bring them together. They won an award in an event we co-sponsored with Tech.co last fall, and they're just doing unbelievably well. So again, the opportunities are out there for minorities. It's just identifying the opportunity, pulling together the funding, and really having that passion and that belief that you can come forward.
And that's one thing over the years, seeing how it used to be the Consumer Electronics Association, now morphed to the Consumer Technology Association. Just the footprint that you guys have worldwide with a lot of things. You mentioned Tech.co. We know coming up this year, CES Asia is happening. And when you look at the tech industry, it is such a melting pot. And I don't think people out there who are not in the tech industry really understand just the melting pot and the camaraderie that we all have in the tech field. I mean, we all get along pretty well,
At times, but yeah,
for the most part, right? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
And
And I think it's because we have that shared vision and
absolutely.
passion that people are in this, generally join this because they want to do something good. They want to solve a need. They want to solve some great issue. It may not all be about curing cancer or creating prosthetic arms for those who've lost limbs, but it's about finding that need, and there's a passion about that. And we also recognize that we grow together, right? And that through technology, because we no longer have to be limited by geographic areas or necessarily by politics, that we can unite and eliminate all those barriers of distance, that we can come together. We really are a community. We've been very active on this big issue of immigration reform because we look at so many of our major companies and so many of these startups that are begun by immigrants who come to our country, and they create jobs and they create opportunities. And likewise, that we're able to export our ideas, right, and able to grow markets and not only bring the best and brightest to the United States, but take our best and brightest and create these companies and create these technologies and the opportunities and help create new opportunities for people around the world.
And that's one thing earlier this month when I had Gary Shapiro on, your CEO, and that's one thing we talked about the immigration policy and how it kind of what could affect the tech industry and things like that. And when we look at all the things that are happening in the tech industry, what is one area in the tech industry that you think we'll see the most growth in going forward? I'm having you channel your inner Jedi and try to foresee try to foresee the future. And what do you think?
Well, I think I can't give you just one answer. I'll give you a couple. One, it's sort of that fundamental level. I'm in love with this sort of old school a little bit, but new school. It's 4K ultra high definition television. If you haven't seen it, go to your nearest retailer. It is unbelievable. If you like sports, you like movies, you like music, if you just like, whatever TV show, it's going to look unbelievable in 4K. Not necessarily helping to change the world for the better, although maybe we'll all be a little happier if we can see these
Absolutely.
events, and we'll have less fights over was that a first down or not if you can see it more clearly.
Tell me about it.
Sort of one area, right? I love self-driving cars.
Yes.
I sort of joked earlier about as I get older and the ability to drive, but think about that. If you're disabled, if you're physically disabled in some way or physically limited, all of a sudden self-driving cars give you access to freedom that you never had before, right? You no longer have to wait for someone to come pick you up and take you to the grocery store. You can use that self-driving technology to get you to places where you want to go. For the elderly, too, as their skills decline, this is a way to keep them active and involved in their community. I think that's fantastic opportunity. And then there's this sort of emerging field of artificial intelligence. Right now, it's being laid out in things like Alexa and Google Home. But if you think over time how that may be applied to different technologies, and again, increases access to entertainment, to communications, to information, simply by understanding our voice and responding to our voice and integrating that into different technologies, I think there are tremendous opportunities there as well. I could go on and on and on. Drones, 3D printing, robotics. It's an amazing time to be involved in technology.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Jeff has one of the coolest jobs because he gets to talk
you can
about
tell I'm passionate, huh?
Yeah, talk about some of this innovation, and you touched on something that's dear to my heart, and that is the autonomous cars, driverless cars, and myself being disabled. And I know my wife and we talk about this a lot because she's always saying, "When are you going to drive?" Because she's tired of being my chauffeur because I go everywhere. And I told her, I said, "Be careful. If I get that driverless car, honey, you ain't gonna see me home." And then you go, and I said, "You're not gonna drive with me either. I am not gonna let you in the car." And the elderly ones too, because I have elderly parents, and my dad last year had a stroke, so he's not able to drive right now, but maybe in the future. But even when he does drive, I'm going to be scared because Pops drove like Mr. Magoo, man. He never caused the accident.
Excuse me, you're showing your age, Mr. Magoo.
Yes. See, Pops never was involved in the accident, but he caused the accidents. You know what I mean? That's
I understand.
That's how he was. But the technological age that we live in, it's just amazing, my friend, and I'm so looking forward to it. And looking at yourself and at the Consumer Technology Association, being the senior VP of Communications and Strategic Relationships, that's an honor, my friend, to be a part of an organization and a voice. And what are some of the things we have to look forward to this year coming out of Consumer Technology Association?
Our next big event, we've got a couple. One, you mentioned CS Asia, and it is turning into the key trade show for those companies who want to compete in that growing Asian marketplace, and specifically in China. We bring over 30,000 attendees to Shanghai to sort of see the future of technology in the Asian marketplace. And that's a very exciting opportunity to begin to provide access to our member companies, to technology companies from around the world, to get them an opportunity to better understand that marketplace, and for Asian brands to be able to market themselves out to the rest of the world. I think through increased commerce and increased opportunities, hopefully leads to better relations between our countries as well. So I'm very excited about that. One of the other issues that I think we're facing as a nation, we talked on a little bit, is our economy, and specifically the opportunity to create jobs, not just on the coasts and tech sectors, but across the country. So we're going to have a forum here in Washington coming up in May to look at the future of work and how is technology impacting jobs. If you're a company like a ride-sharing company where your employees are no longer traditional employees, how do you provide benefits? How do you continue to grow and expand these economic opportunities across the country, not just for those ride-sharing companies, but for many others as well? And then we'll move into the fall. We have another event. Actually, we'll be out in San Francisco, again, in partnership with Tech.co. We'll focus on startups and how we continue to encourage all people, minorities and the majority community to engage in startups, to help them find funding, help them find mentoring and networking opportunities. So we've got a lot of work ahead. We're known primarily for producing CS, but we're also a lobbying organization, so we're very involved here in D.C. and in state capitals like Sacramento. We do a lot of research. We produce other events throughout the year. So I guess that's a long way of saying I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be on more flights this year.
Yes, you are. You have to follow him on Twitter too, because he posts some really cool things out there. And Jeff, before we let you go too, just touching on, talked about jobs and economy. I had the privilege of moderating a panel for Black Enterprise for the Tech Connect Summit last year in October. And one of the subjects that we talked about with some of the engineers there and ones who create code for AI, talking about robotics. And it said some people are scared that it's going to take their jobs. Now, even though robotics will take jobs, but he brought up something that made a lot of sense. He said, you need ones who are going to service the AI and the robotics. That's where more jobs come in. And that's where, we have to be on board when it comes to STEM education, even for old guys, who remember the Miami Vice brick phones. We may have to go back. We may have to go back to some technical school and then get some training.
That's exactly right. I'm sympathetic to. I understand the fear that technology may cost jobs, and certainly we're in this time of tremendous disruption. I talked about ride sharing. If you're a taxi cab driver, you're concerned. If you're a truck driver, you're concerned about self-driving vehicles and what that may be. If you're working on a factory assembly line, you're concerned about robotics. It's understandable. The disruption brings change, and change can bring fear. But I think the opportunities are tremendous. You're exactly right. Robotics it may mean that a specific job may change, but it'll create all sorts of other new opportunities for people. As we move into AI, think about the infrastructure that's going to be needed to support a self-driving infrastructure. You're going to need all sorts of technicians to work on those cars, to build the sensors that are needed in highways, to build out that roadway so we can transition to self-driving cars. So I understand the fear, but I think if we can step back for a minute and really look at the big picture, these transitions, economic disruptions do cause disruption, but they also create unbelievable opportunities. There's a reason why we no longer have horses carrying around ice delivering to our houses anymore. But think about all the new opportunities that the development of ice machines and refrigerators and freezers created, from retail to the ability for to transport goods and create and move agriculture. So I'm very excited about this, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about at our upcoming conference here in Washington in May.
Awesome. And you brought up AI. We want to make sure that someone is overseeing AI. So Sonny won't pound the desk and say, "I did not kill the man," right? Just like an iRobot. So
exactly. So I think sometimes those science fiction movies, man, they mess with us, right?
Yeah,
I just got done binge watching Westworld, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about that." But we are intelligent beings. As long as and I think that's why open communication is important too. We need to talk about these issues and make sure we understand and bring the best and brightest minds to really look at the long-term implications of what this brings. But I fully believe in my heart of hearts that yes, we hear stories about hacking, and yes, we hear stories about using technology to produce fake news, and there are always dark sides. But as a whole, technology creates economic growth. It creates opportunity. It creates jobs. It improves our lives. Just think of the ways that children around the world now have access to education content because of technology. It's unbelievable. We shouldn't be afraid.
Well said, Jeff. Well said. You and I can talk for hours about tech and all the great stuff. And it was great catching up with you and talking with you. And before we let you go, how can ones find out more information about the Consumer Technology Association? Because you guys some great content, great newsletters, great magazine that Cindy and the crew put out over there. It's amazing. And how can ones do that? What's the easiest way?
Well, thanks for the shout out, i3 Magazine. We appreciate that. It's a great publication. Covers it is innovation, covers all these trends in technology. A great way to stay on top of technology. Follow me at J.A. Joseph on Twitter. Come to visit us online at cta.tech, and you'll see a number of social media links. We're on every major social media platform, but the easiest way is to come to our website, and then you can follow the social media links and just become engaged.
Awesome. And to quote a biblical line, since we're quoting lines and movies and everything, you remember when Ruth and Naomi, she said, wherever you go, I go. So Jeff, wherever you go, I'm going to go because I want to see Jeff, hang out with Jeff and talk about his cool job that he has. So Jeff,
my friend, you're always welcome. It's always a delight. One of the things we didn't talk about is the importance of people like you who have such a great audience and talking about these opportunities and making sure that our communities understand that there are economic opportunities through technology, and also explaining what some of this technology means and to help allay those fears. So we really appreciate your role. You're a huge part of this community as well.
Awesome, Jeff. I really appreciate that. So Sean and the guys, cut that for a promo because we want to play that 24 hours here on the station. Jeff, my friend, great talking to you, my friend. Great success, and you take care of yourself.
All right, you do the same, man. I appreciate it.
That was the amazing Jeff Joseph joining me here on the Tech Zone. Love talking to Jeff. We had some fun there, Mr. Magoo. Miami Vice Brick Phones. Yeah, remember those days? Hey, it's been an honor talking to you today here on the Tech Zone and having you join me. Remember, like, post, share the episodes, audio version of it, SoundCloud. What else? iTunes, YouTube, share it. Let the world know about the Tech Zone. And don't forget, coming up March the 2nd on Thursday, a live reveal, Facebook Live, YouTube, of what's to come here on the Tech Zone. Some of the great things. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because once it goes live on YouTube, you'll get an email and saying, Paul Amadeus Lane live. Yes, well, I'm going to make it like a tree and get out of here in the words of Biff Tannen. Remember, turn someone's frown into a smile and love those who are unable to love themselves. And what's the other one? Oh, yeah. Leave someone in a better mood than in which you receive them. You do those three things, in the words of Coach Bobby Finstock from Teen Wolf, everything else in life is cream cheese. Take care. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. See you next time on the Tech Zone.
Take a little trip with me.